Broadcasting from the business capital of the world, this is the Podcast Business News Network.
And welcome back, everybody. I've said this before. I'm going to say it again because it is the baseline for everything that we deal with in our lives and how we approach relationship situations. All of that is trauma. We all have trauma. I know that's kind of hard to swallow in here, but we'll explain what that means in a moment. But to release that trauma, the power of movement is huge. It's all about moving the energy, and that's the work that she does. She's an energy work practitioner. I could list all of the energy modalities from Reiki to hypnotherapy, all of that. I don't have enough time because she is so well qualified for this. Rima Wardini is back with us. How you doing today?
I'm doing well, Steve. Thank you. How are you doing?
I'm good. Yeah, it's great to have you
Wonderful.
back here. And we've talked about trauma briefly before and how energy supports that. And you could have what's known as stuck energy because of trauma. And that's giving you challenges in your life and you're not even aware of it. But let's start at trauma. What exactly is trauma?
Well, trauma could be any experience that impacted you in a conscious way or subconscious way, and it could be anything from accidents, from abuse, from little word that was said when you were young and it just impacted you in such a way. It could be anything, and the reality is that trauma does not only stop at the mind; it kind of actually integrates within your body on the cellular level. So since we are all vibration, this trauma is something that disrupted the natural vibration or frequency of your own energy, which created a break, like created a blockage. What we call a blockage is the breaking of the flow, natural flow of your energy.
Mm.
So it could take any form. It could be anything that you're not even aware of. And often enough, it just plays a lot with your mood and a lot with the decision makings that you do. And a lot of times, what happens is that you recreate the same thing over and over again because you haven't necessarily dealt with that trauma. It could be, like I said, it could be phobia of something that you're not even aware of. It could be, we spoke about this, recreating the same pattern of partnership or romantic relationships. It could be, scarcity in money, and that could have been something, a traumatic experience with that. I could be physical injuries that are constant and constantly happening to you because you haven't dealt with what was truly imprinted. And I think imprinted is the right word. It was imprinted within your body and you haven't really dealt with at that point.
It's somewhat uncomfortable to sit with. And I want your feedback on this in knowing that one small thing between the age of birth and 7 can majorly affect your life. And you might not
That's
even know it. To your point, you're walking by the kitchen, mom or dad says something. They didn't even say it to you. They were having a conversation with each other. Maybe they were on the phone. You didn't see that. 5 years old, you're walking by, you hear this, and you're like, oh, all right. You're a clean slate as that 5-year-old. You internalize that. And that could have made you at that time feel not worthy or whatever it might be. And now you took that to your adult life and it's holding you back and impacting it. Kind of scary, kind of uncomfortable to know that.
it is. It is. It is. But it's also there's comfort in knowing that there's ways of understanding them and letting them go. And I always say there's a reason why we have traumas because we become who we are now as adults. And as we evolve, we continue to evolve because we have experienced what we have experienced. And I always say, we're souls, we kind of have this contract coming in and trying to figure out what we want to learn here. And we want to constantly expand. So it's weird to say that we might have chosen those traumas in order for us to understand something about what we need to understand to evolve as spiritual beings.
Hmm.
Once you get that, it becomes less pointing fingers and more going inwards. And I think this is exactly what we need to do. We need to go inwards and understand that the people around us are playing a crucial role in our expansion. What can we do now that we are aware of it? What can we do in order for us to let go of that and becoming our authentic self, not painted by everything that it was around us?
I
And
I just got a download, and I'm going to be very transparent with you and share something. And we're going to get into the power of movement in releasing
yeah,
trauma in a
no
moment.
problem.
But we talked earlier. I had laryngitis and never had it before. Yeah, a little scratchy voice from a cold, maybe here and there over years. This was new. And I thought about it a little bit deeper and lasering this with situations and also other factors, timeline, and things like that. My gut tells me that it wasn't just from a virus, it's connected to the throat chakra.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
I know it sounds cheesy. I know it sounds woo woo. I know for some kind of corny. There's more to it than just oh, you got a virus, or a cold or whatever it might be. Would you, if I'm thinking that and feeling that, would you
Yeah,
say?
absolutely. Well, I mean, from the world where I come from, and I told you, Steve, like I have a very, very big scientific background. Like I've been in research all my life, but there are things that cannot be explained. And anything that has to do with the throat, it is the throat chakra. And what is the throat chakra? It's expression.
Action. Yeah,
It's expression. And there's something that most probably although you're in podcasting, and that's the funny place, right? You're
I know, right?
constantly using your voice and expressing yourself and having this communication, and you have this facility to it, but there's something most probably deeper that needed to be let go of, that you needed to take to be more conscious of, whether it's from now or a trauma that has been a long time ago,
Sure.
that now it was the time for you to let go of it. So the
Yeah.
universe plays this role in order for you to kind of go back and say, okay, what is this all about? What am I not truly expressing? Is it something communication with our children? Sometimes it could be anything. It could be not expressing your authentic self, or
Yeah.
worrying about you're going to hurt somebody by saying something that you really want to say.
Right. And to your point, and back to what we're talking about today,
Yeah.
trauma, that can go back to something from childhood where, let's hypothetically here, uh, you might not be comfortable in expressing yourself because of that. Or expressing yourself in a certain situation. Like you said, don't
Yeah.
want to hurt somebody, don't want to rock the boat, don't want a situation to change, but you're not being true to yourself.
Mm.
And some people can just say, hey, what the heck's going on? I'm not going to deal with that anymore. Other people maybe because of their childhood and maybe a small trauma, like we talked about. Others may be afraid to say something for whatever reason that might be. And that's what we talk about, the throat chakra. So would
Yeah.
it be, okay, so I get laryngitis. So, kind of shook it up, if you will. Would you think that that could have potentially cleared out that that energy?
I think
With it?
so. I truly believe so. And like I said, I always say it's layers, right? But I truly believe so because you were obligated to take a step back
I
from
was I was I was forced. I was forced.
you're forced to take a step back, be with yourself, do what you needed to do in order for you to get back on track. But you needed that moment off. And most probably, if you did not have that laryngitis, you would not have taken time off
Yeah.
and being with yourself.
I'm convinced that's what it is. And this is not about me, but I'm using this as an illustration of how this can
Yes, so no,
potentially
because
work.
examples do help a lot. They do
But
help. It does help.
I before I got the laryngitis, I went away for a weekend and I never do this, just to have I need some time. So to get some clarity, just stared at the beach, the ocean. It was like wonderful, fantastic. And then when I came back, that's when, I came out with a virus, not COVID or anything, tested like 5 times, not kidding. flu, nothing. Um, it's almost as if that was the part two of the you took that time to search your soul. Well, we're going to give you laryngitis, so now you can do it again and go even a little bit deeper. Um,
Deeper and longer. Yeah,
yeah,
deeper and longer. And I truly believe that's exactly how the universe communicates with us, and our bodies communicate with us as well.
yeah,
And often enough people don't are not comfortable to feel fully that pain, to really try to see deeper what goes behind it.
yep.
And in my practice, because I was a clinical exercise physiologist for the longest time, and I was really dealing with chronic disorders, and it was all about movement and rehab, and but then it was what else? Okay, how can I help my clients even more? Because this is triggered by something deeper than just a traumatic brain injury or MS, multiple sclerosis, or Parkinson's. There's something that is deep.
Yep.
And that's what got me on that.
Well,
Like, part
this is
is personal, but the other part was more client based.
this is what makes you radically different than and other people who do energy work. And there's many wonderful ones out there. I've met some. I've had
Absolutely.
sessions with them, but you have a deeper understanding from your scientific background and in terms of physiology and understanding how the body works and all of that.
Yeah.
Pair that with the energy connection. Powerful combination. Powerful
It's
combination.
great. It's great.
Mm, mm.
Yeah. I always say science should be completely linked with spirituality, and then we would have the perfect world because we're beyond our physical selves. So, anyway,
So the
yeah.
power of
So,
movement to help release trauma, interesting concept. And I've seen people express themselves with dance. I've actually done podcasts on this as well. Um, the arts, you know, with people maybe singing or even playing music or whatever it might be. Um, that's my view of it. The power of movement. Tell us your
yeah.
view.
Well, I think the power of movements is really reflective of who we truly are. We're not meant to be static because vibration is not static. Atoms are never static. We're constantly should be in movement. And even when we're sitting down, we're in movement. And the power of movement is more, it's those expressions of yourself that you cannot put into words. And I used to look at that. I used to dance a lot when I was young. I started ballet when I was 3 years old, and I used to watch my mom dance a lot. And it was dancing was part of our like upbringing in home. And I could tell you the feeling of it cannot be expressed on paper. I wasn't able to say what I was feeling just watching my mom feeling so free. But I could tell you that emotions would come up in me as a little child, seeing this freedom or seeing this release of whatever she was letting go of at that moment in time.
Wow.
And that's what movement became so important for me. And often enough, we say, yes, go run, go. And I did everything, Steve. I did boxing, I did circuit training, I did ballet, I did a lot. But right now, maybe in the phase of my life, it's more about taking it in a more gentle way. It's going deeper into why am I doing what I'm doing? Why am I going into that sense of movement? And often enough, I do it because I want to be able to help others to do the same. And
Mm,
it's through somatic movements and yin yoga that I was able to tap into parts of my body that were jammed for years. I couldn't understand why my right hip was constantly blocking, why my leg is constantly stiff. I couldn't do my full stretching when I was doing ballet since I was very young. And it's through these movements that I was able to tap into it, because what they do is that they relax your muscles more because you're into it, into your movements for a long period of time, and you're more focused on where the pain is. And as soon as you resist it, it becomes super hard. But then when you just tap into relaxing your body and the fascia in your body, which is the connective tissues that connects everything, your
It's
muscles, your
everything.
bones. It's everything.
Yeah.
It's the communication center.
We do 5 podcasts on fascia or fascia, depending on how you want to pronounce it.
Yes,
Yeah, I don't want to be gross here, but this is what I've learned, and this is how I visualize it. Like you said, it's the connection, the connective tissue, your whole body. If you ever
everything.
cook chicken and you cut the chicken
Yeah,
and the skin reveals this white stuff underneath it, and sometimes like, oh, what's that? That's what that is. We all have that.
yeah.
It's it's almost like a another layer of skin, if you will, that helps us move. It's everything. It's everything.
Yeah, well, it communicates throughout your entire body between your organs and everything. So
I
it's
didn't think about that. I think of it more in a physical form. I didn't think about the communication form, but to your
yes,
point before, all of this stuff, the trauma, everything we deal with gets down to the cellular level. So there you go.
absolutely, absolutely, and that's what it does. So taking it, it's great. Go run, do your thing. It's very, but these activities are very, very masculine. You want to go deeper into the shadow part, you're gonna have to experience a bit more of the yin type of things, the feminine type of things, the ones that are more slow and deeper. They go deeper within your tissues. And I think we need to pay attention as much to that as to our, the forceful ones, the masculine ones, the yang yoga where you're like in warrior zone and stuff like that. But when you go into the yin one, it's really crucial to really tap into where the pain is and what's behind that pain. And it's funny because I went to see my osteopath not long ago because of the hip. And I was going into it and she was doing those movements and you almost feel like they're not doing anything, right? And I've been telling her I've been working on this hip for the longest time through this and that. She's like, yeah, but there's a memory there that
Hmm.
you cannot see yet for some odd reason. She was able to see it. She was able to tap into my hip to go in, and my body was reacting. It was like holding on. I'm like, you're not going there. You're not going there. And she was able to see a past life where I was burned to stake because I was doing the work of a healer in those old times. Are often the hits are often linked to anger and resentment and a lot of past fear and trauma for women especially. It's going to be around the hips a lot. So it's either rape and all of these things that happen to us throughout the time. Most probably it's all linked to my hips as well. So I was able to, since she worked on me, I was able to go deeper into my movement in yin. I did yin yoga, and I was able to go tap into a bit more into that movement. And it just, the release of emotions. I was crying in the middle of the class, and I was like, okay, good. Just, okay, it's time. It's just time for
Wow.
it to open up, to feel free. I want to feel free in my body, and I want people to understand that that feeling of freedom is beyond. And it could be through movement, through dancing, through anything that you want, through arts, like you were saying. But the movement itself is really crucial. And tapping into that pain level and understanding what's behind it. Once you relax into the pain, everything seems to be much easier to handle
Isn't
in
it
your
amazing
experiences through life. Yeah. Like
how
I'm
this is
talking,
all the connection of all of this? And it was this
yeah,
time last year, somebody like yourself, energy healer, um, identified things with me. I had a shoulder issue, like a rotator cuff, maybe playing tennis. I don't know what it was. Wasn't really bad, but it was a little troublesome. And she said, usually if it's the right side, it's usually connected to conflict with a female. And she was right. Like getting divorced. Like, how would she know that? Um, but to your point, how the body has these connections and how even minimal movement can make a difference. Now, you mentioned yoga and you call it two separate things. I'm hearing like the yin and the yang. I'm not really sure. But what's the difference?
So the yin yoga, like I said, it's more of a feminine and more of a deeper layer. So you stay in the movement longer. So when you're doing your stretching, you're doing it for a very long period of time to give the chance for your fascia to relax.
Ah,
Yeah, so you stay in that movement and it's uncomfortable. But at one point, there's that pinpoint, like that point of, oh, okay, I see. I keep on saying to myself, you're secure. You're safe. Don't worry. Just relax. And I
it's
talk
like
to
you
my
got over
body.
the hill. You got over the hill.
Yes, it's the over the hill. It's like when you're running and those first 5 minutes are crucial, are like so hard. And then after you get the second breath and you're like, oh, it's getting easier. The same thing happens when you're in that either somatic or yin yoga.
Mm.
There's a point where you kind of like completely your muscles relax and say, okay, it's your new level of openness.
Thank you for saying that because I don't want to say I shy away from yoga, but I haven't gotten there yet. 1 hour ago, I was on the phone with somebody I've known for decades. We worked together as well, and he had emergency heart surgery 8 years ago. He went in just for a routine exam. They're like, "Oh, we'll meet you at the hospital at 2 p.m." And it was just that fast. And he said to the doctor, I like basketball. I like doing sports and everything. And the guy's like, have you tried yoga? And my friend's like, no, do yoga. He's been doing it ever since morning and night. We mentioned, you said feminine before. This is a grown
Yeah.
man. He swears by it. And as a matter of fact, he was doing yoga and we're working together. He says, I got an idea for our project during the yoga. And I see what you're saying, that if you hang in there,
Yeah.
even when you're doing stretching, at the gym, whatever, you're supposed to do it for at least 30 seconds because you're not going to get the benefits. A lot of us just go like this.
Yeah, that's it. Did you ever take the time to count 30 seconds?
No, because
Exactly.
usually you're like, it's uncomfortable. I'm good enough. Let me go to the next stretch and let me start working out. But
Exactly.
if you went to 30 seconds, I'll bet you after 20 or 25 seconds, you'd be like, that's easy. I'm good now.
Yeah.
And I could go 50. I could go 40.
Exactly.
We're just about out of time. You bring so much insight, so much knowledge. All of this, had no idea. And even the yoga, this is twice in an hour that yoga has come up. I got to go there. I got to
Most probably you should.
Again, hello universe. I hear you. How does somebody find you? And I know you can do things virtually as well.
Yeah.
What's the best way?
You could reach me, you could connect with me on my website. It's www.wholestik, WHOLESTIK.com. Or you can also find me at IG at r.wardini and DM me. I'll be more than happy to respond to you, to create beautiful connections as well.
Love it. And thank you for your transparency, about your situation, the hip situation, and what that felt like, and even the fact that you cried. That's what happens because you're releasing. It feels good.
Exactly. It feels so good to just, you feel brand new.
Yeah. Appreciate you. Thanks for being here today.
Thank you, Steve, for having me. Have a wonderful day.
You too. We'll be right back.
Are you looking for even more of the podcasts and hosts that you love? The Podcast Business News Network is proud to announce that you now have even more ways to listen live. Check out the MyTuner Radio, online radio box, and Simple Radio apps on iOS and Android, or find us online. Search for Business News Network on mytuner-radio.com, or search Podcast Business News Network on streama.com and onlineradiobox.com/US. Take your podcast on the go and don't miss a minute of the action.
Broadcasting from the business capital of the world, this is the Podcast Business News Network.
For nearly 2,000 severely injured veterans, everyday life has become filled with barriers.
Day-to-day simple tasks can become pretty daunting.
I have to carry my chair up 2 flights of steps or have somebody do it for me.
What scares me the most is just the falling.
When I'm struggling with my house, I think, to have that one great barrier just knocked down, it's crucial.
Home for Our Troops is a wonderful nonprofit that builds a
mortgage-free, fully adaptive, handicap-accessible house.
And there's no catch.
It'll be our very first home that we've ever owned. This is a game changer.
This is where your life begins again.
We need you to join us in completing this important mission. Please visit hfotusa.org and help build homes and rebuild lives.
Because of you, everything's going to be okay.